Hello my friends, long time no see. Magister Klaus is here again, and I have prepared something for you after some time of me being absent. I'm back with a new video, and probably this will be a continuation or a series of videos which we have done before, but I needed some time to study and to learn a little bit and more materials. And I am back with an additional grimoire in review, another book that I just want to present for you, and maybe if you will be interested you can also study it. It is one of the first book of many that I have read recently, and not only read, but this book is quite complex. It's practically a magical system that can be used more by advanced practitioners. So it took me some time just to scratch the surface of it. To be honest, I am still at the beginning of this system, which intrigues me quite a lot. And why not to speak a little bit about the theory before you go to the practice. So what I mean currently is the very probably known book by some of the practitioners. This book was relatively, it wasn't very famous in the 15th century because it became lost for some time. This is a book that is called the Book of Abramelin, which is more known by older edition by as Gregor Mr. Matters, who translated the original, or not the original, but he translated one of the older versions of the Book of the Abramelin from French in 1920s. The book that Mr. Gregors translated was unfortunately incomplete, but this was not because he just didn't know about it. Yeah. And it became quite famous later in the 20th century, mostly by practitioners of advanced ritualistic ceremonial magic called theurgia, which is a technique of communing with higher energies called maybe angels. But Mr. Gregor's version is from the 1920s. There were several versions of it. Also, we might probably think that this system was used also by Mr. Georg Dehm, that later developed his form of Enochian magic. So what is this about? This is the newest edition. That's why I'm putting it into your attention. It is written or compiled and edited by a German author. I suppose he is also a magician, Mr. Georg Dehm. He's a German, and he had the possibility to visit several archives, mostly in Germany, in the city of Dresden, in the city of Leipzig, in the city of Worms, but also visited English and British libraries, where several translations or versions of the Book of Abramelin are still in original copies. And he realized that this book, the book by Mr. Matters, was incomplete. It was the later French edition. And this book is practically containing also the lost chapters, or we can say also the book, the second chapter that was missing in the original material. And also it comes up with some kind of additional theories and thoughts by Mr. Dehm about this type of ritual. As I said, the whole book is a system, It is probably coming from the 15th century and was written by a Jewish rabbi whose name, there are several theories who he was, but who was living in 15th century in a city of Worms, which is still, this city exists. It's the city of in Germany. According to some historical sources, the author of this book was called Abraham of Worms, and he was quite, or he was very educated man. That at the time, we have to understand that the 15th century was quite a dark time for Europe. A lot of religious wars were going on. There was also so-called pogroms or hunts on Jews at those times, practically around Europe. But Abraham of Worms a very special status also with the German nobility at that time, as he was acting as their personal astrologer, magician, miracle maker maybe. And this is still in the archives of Leipzig, in the city of Leipzig and the city of Worms. We can later on, Mr. Dehm found also the old sources which are giving practically Abraham of Worms a special status of a Jew that could travel within the German territory and shouldn't or can't be harmed, and also his family had an immunity. This was quite rare in the 15th century for Jews, so practically he must be of great value to the nobility. How did he become someone like that? Is that he of course studied Torah, Kabbalah, was a rabbi, we expect, or was one of the those that were really educated. And Abraham of Worms was always fascinated by let's say magic. So although that he was a religious person, in the first chapter of the book he is writing this book for his son Lamech. For some unknown reason, Abraham lost connection with his son Lamech and was expecting to meet with him, or if he wouldn't be able to meet with him, he wrote this book for him how to get the, of course this is written from the Jewish perspective, how to get like in contact with high angelic beings, how to be able to get into the God's grace. Yeah, so he still, but his understanding of God is interesting. It's really Kabbalistic. He understands God's grace as someone like originator, or even from these Gnostic myths later we can say as the primal mover or the creator of the reality, which is beautiful in such as such. And he is practically explaining his son Lamech the secrets of how to connect with these powers of the universe. And he's writing it in Old German. That's why this book practically was not lost, because many books that were written in Hebrew were burned during the centuries. Of course, Jewish literature was destroyed through several pogroms and historical situations that were not kind to Jews during the centuries, because he thought that he didn't know whether the Lamech is educated Jew, it means rabbi, or he will be an ordinary person, but he writes this in German. And this book practically contains also those old writings that were found in the archives. Yeah. First chapter of the book is speaking practically, it's very similar with Mr. Gregor's translation. I consider this a little bit more for the modern reader. It's written very beautifully in modern English and translated from German, medieval German. And it speaks about his journey and his life, how he wanted to meet with several teachers, how Abraham goes through Europe, to Turkey. He then arrives in Egypt, and it's classical journey of someone that is going from medieval cities of Germany as a young man to the deserts where he's meditating and so on. And during his journey, this is very interesting, is that he is meeting a lot of teachers, or we can call them gurus in this modern time. But it was quite funny reading, because we realized that this search for truth, this search for magic, it's not different from the 15th century in our times. We are also searching on YouTube, speaking with people, trying to have some kind of consultations. We might like some teachers, we might hate some. Many of them are frauds. And that same thing is happening to Abraham, that he is not happy first with his teacher from in the city of Worms, who is also a rabbi and who is doing invocations and evocations of spirits. But he still thinks that that something is missing and so on. So he goes on these travels. He meets magicians from old city of Prague, where he meets demonolators in the 15th century, and he meets paganistic magicians from Greece. There are very interesting thoughts about him, where he sees that, for example, there is a demonolator in the medieval city of Prague that is doing curses for money, and he realizes, he speaks these horror stories that the person is practically selling everything. He's not selling his soul. It's quite interesting that Abraham knows these things. He says that he made a pact that should give him power, and then this magician ends dead in a room. According to the writings, he makes a pact with Beelzebul, and in 2 years, and the Beelzebul probably kills him, because he says that the demonolator is found, his head removed from his body in a locked room from inside. Yeah, so might be that the demonolator made so many people crazy that they just kill him. Yeah, but these things remain, and he says he also speaks in that he meets people that do not believe in God, so practically atheists in the 15th century, that are also doing magic. Yeah? And he says that it's possible, but it's all like that these people are misled, and they are practically praised to their own, let's say in modern terms, egos. Yeah. So then he moves later on to Ottoman Empire, which is for current Turkey, but Ottoman Empire was quite big in 15th century. So he moves to Greece, where he meets old practitioners of ancient mysteries from these old Hellenistic and Roman cults that were still a little bit prevailing. He speaks that, okay, these entities, these energies, these old gods that are being evoked are just masks or forms of Satan. Yeah, so he's religious, but he also during his travels finds a lot of people that are just pretending, that are just doing this for money, that are having no powers, and he with his friends sometimes expose them. So and later on he arrives somewhere to the Egypt. Mr. Dehm is describing and later on going the same journey, and he finds out that the locations that Abraham of Worms is describing in this book are still standing practically for today. So it means that the travel was legit. Yeah, it's not just some kind of funny story, because in the 15th, 16th century there were so many people mysticizing about that they were in Egypt and so on, but at that time it was not so easy to travel for Christians, mostly only if they wanted to reach Palestine. But some descriptions of the locations in the book are absolutely the same. Yeah, the geographical points are not changing, so it is highly probable that it's not just made up, that Abraham really did this travel, this search. And Abraham met a mystic probably in Egypt, and the mystic, it's called Abramelin. And Abramelin teaches him during the period of more than 1 year, year and a half actually, because the ritual also should took like year and a half, the techniques of practically speaking with the, like mastering the magic, like mastering the your own inner guardian, speaking with the energies, with the demons, and later on also with the angelic beings, and gives him a very specific techniques or writings, so-called magical squares. These magical squares are later on described on the 4th part of the book. And they should practically, if written correctly, they should grant a lot of thaumaturgical or miraculous powers, but not because he wanted to have the powers, but because he really achieves the mastery to affect things, yeah, to heal people, to become like in Solomon magic, to become invisible, to command demons, to speak with, to understand the secrets, the wisdom, yeah, to get even money and things on. I will speak about it later on. And but the potency of these squares to handle or to master them, it's extremely difficult, because you have to go through very difficult and complicated spiritual journey that, according to this book, takes year and a half. It's this Abramelin ritual, practically one of the hardest rituals that we know in until today. Yeah, it's practically a spiritual journey of year and a half. You are meditating, doing invocations, having specific dietary requirements, not eating food, being on water, yeah, being on secluded spaces, praying for hours. If you have seen the movie Dark Song, the movie is made a little bit based on this original book. So after spending this time and achieving the communion with with his inner self, practically he calls Holy Guardian Spirit, then he invokes all of the demonic kings and he commands them. It's a little bit different than from the position of now very modern demonolatry, that we say that spirits are our friends and so on. You know that I have a little bit different understanding on the topic if you watch my streams. And they recognize him as a magician, and he asks for more magical squares that are given to him. He returns back during these evocations. He returns back to the Europe, where he starts to support nobility. And in Germany, he continues the ritual for another year and a half, where he achieves practically this mastery. The book speaks also about the second book speaks about some kind of spells. In the third book, he speaks a lot about the techniques, how to work with the spirits, what to avoid, how to understand that you are being misled by some kind of spirits. And the last book are the magical squares. Mr. then continues with analysis and additional documentations and his own experiences with the ritual. We might say that, as I was looking on the squares, it's at least he strongly forbids or warns those people that are not ready to use squares, that it might have catastrophic repercussions, or if you use it without preparations. If you just start to use this type of squares without working on them. And we know also that there is a lot of, as Mr. Gregors later on translated it incompletely to French. This book was also read by Aleister Crowley, for example, that attempted the Abramelin ritual, but was not able to finish it. He had also, due to various situations, he was saying that he had not enough money or something, but we know that at that moment his heroin addiction was also starting and really exploded after the failed ritual. As I was looking on the squares, and he was also later on, Crowley was also warning his Thelemic students that were just like watching and reading the squares without preparation. He was like telling them, stop it, this is really something that you don't want to touch without preparation. So me being Klaus and also doing similar mistakes as many people before me, I also wanted to see what is the fourth, what are the squares about. And not me. I understand that maybe, I think Mr. Dehm maybe did the ritual. He also mentioning that there were some practitioners that did that, but they don't want to speak as much about it because it's deep spiritual experience. But if you look at the squares, this is like it's a combination of letters. Yeah, I can maybe just to show how it looked like in general. Yeah, because I think there will be some nice picture. So if you look at the historical writings, it's like a square that consists of several names and numbers. Yeah. And the purpose of the working with the square is that after this year and a half, it's very simple. Yeah, you can through the meditation and during the invocation. There is even evocation there. You just say or you pray the combinations of these words. So from the perspective of someone from the 21st century, when we look at the names, there are so many things that you can achieve. Like you see, here are the squares as well. Yeah. So there are so many types of things, like to make spirit appear, to command them, to get secrets, to prevent or remove magic, to curse, to protect. Very strong and powerful things. Even to raise the dead, although he warns against it, that this is something against the god. And really even necromantic, very powerful. This is beyond standard goetic spells. We speak theurgy, so miracle making here. Yeah. I was also, Mr. Dehm is quite intrigued because some of the combinations or letters are very interesting even for modern times. For example, there is a spell to fly. Yeah, so but let's be I'm not sure, maybe in Hindu or Brahmanistic traditions, levitation, sometimes there are these myths that the yogis can maybe levitate. I was not able to see it. Few people told me, who were visiting these strange places, and friends of mine told me that they saw this. But I understand this from like astral travel. But the combination of the words is like the spell, or one of the words that are used for the spell of flying. One of the words there is NASA, so National Aeronautic Space Agency. Yeah, so this is strange, like Britain in the 15th century. Or there is a spell called for financial for getting money. So the string of the names, one of the names contains Soros, which is George Soros currently, the famous economist and very, very rich person. very strange things from the perspective of modern time. It is believed that Abraham of Worms later got the gift of being able to read the future, and he predicted a lot of things for the German nobility, like for example, attempts on assassination on several nobles. He predicted the fall of Constantinople. He wrote even the letter to the emperor of Byzantium, warning him that his empire will crumble very soon. He was a quite lively man compared to maybe this thinking that he was very religious. Of course he wasn't. He was a rabbi. I think that after he did the magic and he did the ritual, he became very open. During the ritual of this 18 months, Gregors translated it wrongly. He thought that it is only 6 months is needed, but actually 18 months is recommended by Abraham to do it. During that time, he even says that you of course should live very pious, secluded life and so on, but he's living there with his family. He has just one room where he is meditating for hours, but during that year and a half he had his daughter was was born. So he was not for example living like a monk. Yeah, he says that everything that is coming with life and with nature should be taken. Yeah, so we shouldn't avoid it. Yeah, we shouldn't play this. Oh, I am now strictly living in only in the spiritual world. He also does a financial spell for himself. Asking for a wife with a dowry, and he writes oh, and it was given to me, and the dowry was so and so money, and it was okay. He does also these type of things, and later on, although that he says that if you do this miracle making for others, you shouldn't do it for selfish financial gain, which is because otherwise it will turn against you. Some of these squares are being given by the demons, some of them are being given by the angels, and if you do it for ego, for selfish things, it will always misfire. So he asks for money for his spells, and quite a lot. He says that he's asking for 10 golden guldens, which I translated to current currency. Golden gulden was a small golden coin in the 15th century. So 10 guldens is around $1,000 currently. So he asked for a spell and he asked $1,000. So a little bit more than we are, I think, asking in current times. But please, yeah, if maybe some people are asking for that, but if they are, then you know how it is. Like even Abraham of Worms says that scams are everywhere, even in his time. But he takes the money, and he always gives these 10 guldens to 10 poor people. So he has already his money from his previous spell. So he creates family, everything, and later on he does it. So 10 guldens was a lot of, yeah. So not who could afford it. It was definitely for the nobility. Yeah. But he took it and he always gave it away, so that he was not in debt to the demons that were working on the spells. He also says that if you do some kind of magical operation for good deeds, that these negative chthonic entropic entities like demons, they do not want to do it. Yeah, so they are. So he pushes them. He really commands them in the powers. It's not like he prays. He really pushes them with these sigils. Yeah, and with these squares. And if it is done for evil deeds, then they are much more happy to help him. So he probably does also these type of things. Also, although he warns, but I think he was very liberal. He was doing a lot of things like. Yeah, so why I'm mentioning this? If you really go through the Abramelin ritual, and I really recommend you to do it, because I can say I'm also in the process of doing something like this. And I am following Abraham of Worms. I'm trying to live my life also in reality, but to go to work, to just avoiding addictions and things like that, not being like you shouldn't be needy for something. Yeah, so if you are a heavy drinker, or if you are a gambler, or if you are wishing to have something, this is not the way. Yeah, you have to do a lot of meditations, being very centered before workings with these energies. But I can tell you that I don't want to speak much about my experiences with the ritual. I feel it's not the way. It needs to be, it's very internal experience that you are getting. Waking up early morning and meditating and feeling presence. Yeah? So it is life-changing in a way. I don't say that this is the only way, yeah, but it's hard. Yeah, if you are expecting things like I want to have something immediately, don't do this. It will not work for you, and or even it will make things bad for you. The workings or this system is for mostly for practitioners that are looking into themselves. Yeah, and I'm currently, that's maybe you have seen, I was also going through these processes, offering my spells and magic to others, and I have cancelled all of this. I am now really only focusing on reading books and studying and doing my own practice. So for myself. So maybe, I don't know, if I will be asking for 10 guldens one day, I am really in such a level that I will be just giving it all away. But without it, I feel that it is not even possible. I for example, just I did a small tarot reading, asking about these things, that am I selfish, or am I doing these things for some kind of glory or my self-ego? What will happen if I will fail or do or misuse the squares? And I was just working with the tarot, and I decided for one draw just draw one card from the deck, and it came as a tower. So the replay, it will be a disaster for me. Yeah, so be careful about this. It is really advanced book. It's not only one system. For just for those that are really curious about it, although it's very rare, it's very open. It's written from the perspective of someone that is deeply religious, but still he's still a person. He's not a fanatic. There are other systems that were done also later on by, for example, Christian magicians, that I would like to maybe discuss with you later on the next video and the next grimoire in review. The book is called The Sworn Book of Honorius, and it's also interesting. I will speak about it later. But I recommend this newly revised and expanded edition. Is this 5 stars? For me, yes. But if you are really into Goetia, demonolatry, and only like invoking demons and into curses and things like that, this will not give you practically anything. Yeah, this is considered a high magic, like John Dee level magic, where magic is done for magic itself. It's not done for some gains except of spiritual gains. It's very similar to a journey of monks or Brahmans, also in Buddhism, in spiritual Buddhism. This is practically a form to change yourself, and if you successfully finish it, if you connect after these 18 months with your inner guardian, he says that you spend 3 days in deep meditations with him, and later on you start to evoke all of the demonic energies, the kings, and they, not because to speak with them or to be like friend with them, but so they recognize you, that you have power over them. This is that you can command them in a way that is not selfish. So from deep psychological potential, it's not that I want to command you, Beelzebul, but it's that I understand what you represent, and all these negativities and things have a purpose in the world, and I am mastering these emotions that you come up with. So if I want to materialize your powers, you will have no power over me. There will be no pacts or anything. I am the magician. You will do as I do, as I want you to do. Yeah, so it is more this old form of mastering yourself. No demons, no energies, no fear, nothing like that. You just like go through them all. Yeah. And then he speaks with the angels that are showing him secrets, but this book is just giving hints, and then he meditates over the circles and so on, over the squares. So is this 5 stars for those that are looking into something a little bit different beyond Goetia, Theurgia, John Dee's type of magic, working with really high emanations, energies, mastering? Then it's 5 stars. If it's something that it will not give you, it's not standard grimoire. Yeah, although it contains some kind of lesser spells on the chapter 2. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to speak to you soon, maybe on some stream that I will be doing, or later on we will review another interesting book, the Sworn Books of Honorius. So have a great day.